you gorgeous individuals, it's Kav here, and today I'm going to be talking about diversity within the book reader and reviewer community. Back in November or so of last year, I started a series called Diversity 101, and my first episode was called What is Diversity? And it was basically discussing the meanings of the words diversity and representation and the difference between them. Now, I haven't actually continued that series, but I have really wanted to. I've just struggled with finding the right way to get the wording across for the topics I want to discuss. But I feel like now is a good time for me to discuss this one as the second installment in this series. And it's about diversity within the book reader and reviewer community. And it was kind of inspired by my good friend Christina Marie. She is starting a new movement called Black and Bookish, where she is basically hyping up Black content creators and starting dialogue with them and with us about her experiences in the community as a Black woman. And she made a video called Is BookCon Really Diverse? That was such a well done video, and I highly recommend you watch it. So obviously I do not want to invade in her conversation, that is her own, but I do want to point it out because it is kind of what inspired me to make this specific video, and I have asked her for permission to mention it in this video, and she graciously gave me permission. So I will link her video, Is BookCon Really Diverse, down in the description below so that you all can support her and her movement and support the Black content creators she is lifting up, because she is starting an important dialogue that I think we should be engaging in. But now on to what I am doing. So with this series, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just putting out videos for the sake of continuing the series. I wanted to make sure that what I was saying came organically to me throughout my time in the community. But I think I finally found a way to make this a second installment. And basically what I'm saying when I'm saying I'm talking about diversity within the book reader and reviewer community is that I want to make sure it doesn't get conflated with diversity in the publishing industry and within the author community, because that is not what I'm talking about. I think that the publishing industry and that side of the community needs to be a discussion for a different day. These are not all things you can lump together in one conversation. So I wanted to single out my experiences as a booktuber and on book Twitter and etc, and talk about diversity in those places. So I'm talking about places like booktube, book blogging, book Twitter, and bookstagram. And with that incredibly long intro, let's get started. So when we talk about diversity within the book community as a whole, we often put the focus on books themselves, and that is good. We should be trying to read diverse books. I think that is a great thing. I'm really glad it's slowly becoming more and more common for people to be picking up diverse books and such. And that is an important conversation to have, but we also have to think about content creators. We have to think about reviewers and readers and who the books are going out to. I think that those parties often don't get discussed enough, so I really think that we need to put more of a focus on diversity in those areas. And I often hear people make claims that these spaces for bookish content creators like booktube, like book blogging, and like bookstagram, etc, are very not diverse, and that they are basically run by privileged people. I have some thoughts about that, because marginalized content creators are there. It's just that people aren't looking for them, and I think that people don't want to take that responsibility upon themselves. They just want to put the blame and say, well, there are no marginalized content creators, those people aren't creating content, which is not true. First of all, at the booktube panel this year, half of the panel was made up by people of color. That is definitely something to give credit to, and I'm not saying it solves all our issues and that means that we never have to discuss diversity again. Obviously, I don't think that, but I think that we have to give credit where credit is due too, and that is a huge step in the right direction for half of that panel to be made up of people of color, and that deserves to be praised. So obviously that proves that there are marginalized content creators out there. There are creators of color, creators in the queer community, creators with disabilities, and people who fall under multiple of those umbrellas. I think we need to stop pretending like those people just don't exist. We need to start realizing that changes need to start happening in our feeds. We as consumers of this content need to start subscribing to marginalized creators. We need to start following marginalized creators' blogs. We need to start following marginalized bookstagrammers and such, because it's up to us to boost marginalized creators, and we can't just keep claiming that they're not there and take all the blame off ourselves. I feel like blame is also not the right word to use because I don't want to make it seem like anyone is a villain or an antagonist in this situation, but I cannot think of a better substitute right now. But when I am saying blame, I want to clarify that I'm not saying that any party is an antagonist in this situation. I'm basically saying that we need to accept the responsibilities we have towards boosting and supporting marginalized content creators, because it's not all on one party. It's not all on the side of content creators. It's also on the side of viewers and whether or not they are supporting marginalized content creators. And I want to be very honest here when I say this. I think that it is very beneficial to have a subscription feed filled with all types of people. That's when you get the most varying of content, and you also get the most authentic of content. And I think a conversation we need to have and something we need to acknowledge is that it is very difficult to be a marginalized content creator. I don't talk about it much from my end, and I don't really see creators talk about it much from their ends either, because I personally feel that as a marginalized creator, it sometimes puts me in the victim seat, and that's not what I want to do. I don't want to victimize myself or any other marginalized creators, but I also want to specify that I cannot speak for every single marginalized creator out there when I say this, because I can speak from my experience and the experiences I've heard my friends share, but not every single person out there, because I don't know every single member of the book community. But it is hard. There are extra challenges that come with it, and especially for those who I know who do talk about their experiences being marginalized, there is a fear that comes with it. There's always the possibility of backlash, and when it's talking about stuff that really relates to your own experiences, that is something that is exceptionally scary and exceptionally hard to do. And I think that's part of the reason I put off making this video for so long, because I am genuinely so terrified of what the reaction to it is going to be. So there are extra obstacles that come with being a marginalized creator, and I think that we need to start acknowledging that more, because it tends to get pushed under the rug a lot. I don't think that's okay. With all that said, as a booktuber, I have found booktube to be one of the most supportive and accepting communities. No booktuber has ever made me feel less than for what I do. Most have actually praised what I do, and I really genuinely do appreciate that. And whereas I do find booktube to be one of the most supportive environments there is, I do think that in every community there are always ways to improve. And within the book reader reviewer community, there are ways to improve in our support and our boosting of marginalized content creators. And I think that we need to shift the conversation from being there are no marginalized creators to being maybe we should try harder to find and support marginalized creators, because I think that's what needs to change. And I really hope this video resonated with some of you out there. If you are a reader of a marginalized identity who is fearing making your own booktube channel or your own book blog or your own bookstagram or anything of that sort, my advice to you is do it. You will be surprised by the support you get, because like I said, no one in the booktube community has ever told me to stop. No one has ever discouraged me. Everyone has only encouraged me, and I really do believe that that's the experience you will have too. Thank you all so much for listening and for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe, because that stuff makes me happy. And be sure to comment down below and let me know if you have any thoughts on what I said. And as usual, all of my social media and my Goodreads will be in the description below if you'd like to follow me anywhere else. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day or night wherever you are. Please remember that you are beautiful and you deserve the world, and I will see you soon for a brand new video. Goodbye!